A motion and a second. Right.
Call for the portion.
Okay, so all in favor? Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we'll move on to the regular agenda. Discussion and update status of strategic planning process.
This is only we're moving right along with the project. We're solidifying and embedding everything that we've discussed in our internal focus groups. That we've had quite a few of them and just wrapped those up. Gotten some excellent internal participation and information, and I'm real pleased with how it's going. I hope everyone else is too. At least, we've had everybody involved in this. We're basically entering the production phase now, and so we're on track. It's I expect it to be something you'll really like when we're done with this. But it's all we're approaching the final stage.
Okay. Okay, and that was just a report item, correct? We'll move on to item 6, executive director's report.
Okay, and we're going to try to brief our exception today. We'll start with Christina.
Sure.
And Victoria.
I'm going to brief you. So we are at 100%, 100.79% occupancy as of the end of September. I will let you know that under HUD's guidance, we did absorb 30 vouchers in the month of October. So you're going to see quite a bit of an increase in those vouchers. And if you recall, it's because we were in the shortfall in 2020, right? So we stopped leasing, so that put us a little behind. So we were able to go ahead and catch up. We are focused right now on, we're going to work with a consultant to finish out our MTW supplement. And we were hoping to present it to you by January so that we can implement it in March, I'm hoping. There's going to be a lot of staff training and software changes that need to happen in between that time whenever we do adopt it. We are also, Victoria and I are working on cleaning up some reporting issues. Now that the COVID waivers are expiring, we have some reporting that we need to make sure is in the system. So we are heavy on that. And then we're focusing on the SE special project vouchers to lease up. That is pretty much what our focus is right now. Any questions? Oh, and EHV too, of course, we're managing that.
Okay. Good job.
So no questions, we can move on to affordable housing. if that's okay.
Okay.
Charles is going to start.
Yes, so I'll get started. Overall, our occupancy is at 85.21%. We currently have 15 monthly renters. We have 19 zero income renters. A total of 20 vacants. We have 8 at Sea Red Oaks, 10 at Eastern Oaks, 5 at Banktown. We are working through the waiting list, and we're also shooting for 95 to 100% occupancy overall over at Eastern Oaks.
Okay, so we have 2 repayment agreements, one at Sea Oaks Apartments and the other one at Eastern Oaks. Both of these tenants are paying on time at the moment. For delinquencies, we do not have any delinquencies at Carson Creek. There is one person that is delinquent at Meeting, 5 that is delinquent at Sea Rat Apartments, which is Eastern Oaks, 18 that are delinquent at Sea Oaks Apartments. There are a little bit higher amount of people who are delinquent, but it has decreased from last month to this month. So we are going in the right direction for delinquency. For our waiting list, it is at the same amount that we had last month. For work orders, if you look at it, Carson Creek is at the same amount of work orders. Manhattan Apartments have the same amount of work orders, and so does Sea Rat Apartments, which is Eastern Oaks. However, for Sea Oaks Apartments, we do have a large amount of work orders, and some of them that are open due to a UPCS inspection that we have with TDHCA. So that's the reason why that one's a little bit higher. But we did hire another maintenance staff to where they're both tackling those work orders for Sea Oaks Apartments. In the coming months, we are going to change the format of the board report, so just look for that change. by the end of the year.
We're also, putting together a damage and charge list that we will be submitting for approval as well.
Are there any questions?
How many maintenance men do we have now? 3, 5, 4?
No, 2. So
Well, we just have
Albert was
2?
by himself for a couple of months, and then we just hired one more person.
Now you have 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought we had 2 or more. On the delinquencies, is there a lot that are 90 days?
So there are a few, we actually just received some emails from, what was it, City Boston, who are paying a lot of those, high balances off. So we will be receiving funds in the next couple of weeks.
Can you give us a quick update on what our options are for either collecting the money or evicting the tenants? Because I know evictions have been a no-no, but I've kind of lost track of it. That's still against the law.
Yeah, they went, the eviction moratorium actually lifted. They're now, anybody who is 5 months or greater in delinquent, we're actually able to proceed with the evictions. So we'll be looking into that as long as they haven't already submitted for funds from either one of the agencies. Since we've already submitted our approval on our end, that we will not be going through with the eviction until we get those funds. Now, some of them are taking longer because they're just at random pick, rather than as soon as you submit the application, you'll get the funds right there and then. It just depends on what agency is approving those funds for each one of them.
So to repeat, you said it, at this point, it's 5 months delinquent. Otherwise, you cannot serve eviction.
For the eviction, correct?
Are we doing everything we can to help those individuals find funding and helping them with their application?
We are. I'm actually even assisting at property on site while I'm there. So I'm having appointments with them, completing all of their tasks, uploading their documents if they don't have the ability to do so themselves.
I commend us all for doing that and commend you for doing that. I think there's so much money out there that families can tap into to pay their rent arrears, and I'm glad we work at Thrive with people. Thank you.
I do want to go back to the inspections and I just would encourage you all to do more with regards to that, because we certainly don't want to have problems that arise when people leave and they wind up with a big tab on it. So we need to make sure that folks are at least every 3 months or so monitoring, the condition of the facilities that they're living in.
Yes, so in regards to that, we are doing housekeeping inspections. We actually, a few weeks ago, did some housekeeping inspections on all the properties, so we are making sure that those units are being.
We're also even providing touch-up paint for their walls, things like that, some kind of preventative maintenance, just to make sure that if they do decide to leave, the unit itself is not tore up, basically.
If a maintenance person goes in there and sees something, first of all, are you asking the maintenance people to keep an eye out for damages?
Correct.
Yes.
And then report it to a manager?
Correct.
But management needs to do their part also in going out there. We can't put it all on the maintenance people. So that's
Yeah, and we are out there with maintenance. Whenever there's any damage that is reported, we are going to the unit to make sure that we can assess it.
And I have a question on the property data on page 2 on CRAD. Oh, you've got some units that have been vacant for quite some time, but they've also been made ready for quite some time. What is there something wrong with those units, or what's the deal why they haven't been released yet?
No, we're just working off the wait list on those applicants. Will we also, I mentioned to Patrick, if we can actually work on Saturdays as well, see if we can get those applicants in sooner. That's something that we recently approved. So we'll be working on not just filling Eastern Oaks, but all the properties. Hopefully getting them all 95 to 100% occupied.
Okay.
You're saying the problem is processing the applicant?
Some of the applicants don't qualify under our criteria, so it's just kind of, you're just trying to filter it out.
How often do we turn our wait list? I mean, do y'all go through it, you know,
Yeah.
regularly just to weed out these?
Yeah, so you're talking about purging the waiting list. Yeah, so since this is a new waiting list, we purged it, I think, once to see if they still are interested in the properties. However, for filling the vacancies, whenever we receive a notice that they're moving out, that's when we start the process of pulling those people off.
I know sometimes you have wait lists for years, but, you know, I know people aren't sitting out there, you know, all those people are sitting, some are. Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay. Next.
Okay, we can go to real estate developments.
Is Keith gonna be on or not?
I.
Okay. So with regard to real estate development, the Eastern Oaks is near complete. We are seeking the balance of funding from TDHCA. So we should have certificate of occupancy here shortly with regard to Eastern Oaks on all of them. I think we're substantially there. I know that property management is trying to get those units leased, the ballots. We have a few punch list items that need to be completed in order to get that totally complete. We have the clubhouse that still needs some work on it, and that should be done within the next 60 days or so. With regard to Maynardtown Phase 2, we have requested an increase in the direct loan with TDHCA. We did not receive funding from Federal Home Loan Bank. We were not successful in a point process, but we did get are asking for an increase from TDHCA. We've got to go out with a RFP with regard to the general contractor, and we should do that within the next 30 days to determine the exact cost to complete Maynardtown Phase 2. That completes my report.
So, actually, so when you say Eastern Oaks is near completion, are you thinking December 1, January 1?
When construction goes, I would say January 1. I mean, the units are ready. The clubhouse had some adjustments that needed to be made to it. So everything would be complete by the first of the year.
So what is our current status of occupancy? I mean, are we filling units as they are completed, or are we waiting?
Well, actually, we have some 20 units occupied at this point out of the 30. And of course, as the property management was indicating, they're going through a waiting list to fill the remaining 10.
Okay. So the main delay is the clubhouse? And
So the delay is the clubhouse, and it was just some of the things that had to be done to it from a construction standpoint, moving some walls, etc. But with regard to leasing the units, we're moving people back in.
There's a couple site work items too that I think were still outstanding, but as he mentioned, most of that's done. And affordable housing folks do have a good solid plan to occupy those units, and we talked about that to get those filled by the end of the year. It's 95%, which is about like 28 on 30.
I have an off the record question. Legal for does the city of Austin allow you to occupy units that are complete, even though there's really units that are not complete? It's not dependent on the final, That's what we're doing. I'm just wondering if we're doing it.
No, we do have certificate of occupancy on the units themselves. There would be a, final completion certificate of occupancy with regard to
And
clubhouse.
we're legally moving people in there.
Absolutely, yes.
My second question is about Manortown. I'm disappointed to hear that we didn't get funding from the Federal Home Loan Bank. And you said that we've requested additional loans from TDHCA. When will we hear about that and what do you estimate our chances are? Because
Okay, as far as, I would need to get back. And I think that probably won't be to the first of the year before we would know definitely that we would get the additional funds. That just recently was approved in September to get the increase or for that to be offered to direct loans. Probably by January, and everything should dovetail completely. We should have the contractor's numbers by that point. We were looking at a cost of about $800,000 that we would have to put in. Obviously, the $400,000 would be funds that we wouldn't have to put in if we get that increase.
What's the cost per unit coming up?
Well, it's still undetermined at this point, but the total cost is estimated still to be $3.8 million on 20 units. So I didn't bring my calculator with me, but it's expensive. But actually, some of the cost has come down a little bit, but still very expensive. And of course, it is just 20 units, so that kind of adds sometimes to the overall cost.
it's a small lot. The other way we could have done more.
And I think there probably would have been restrictions zoning wise, et cetera, and, physical restraints as well.
How
as
big
far
are
as
the
cost.
units across them?
Pardon me?
How big are the units across them?
Oh, gosh, man, I'm gonna try to remember. So it's just
Are they
one and
two
two bedrooms,
bedrooms?
primarily one bedrooms, and I'd say about 650 square feet to 700 square feet for a one bedroom. So, pretty good size.
How
for
many out of the 20? Is there a mix of 1, 2, 3 or one?
No, one and twos only because it's a senior's property. And we determined that there's a greater need for one bedroom than there are two bedrooms. So percentage wise, it's not necessarily 50-50. I think it's probably 60-40.
You might recall too that the area got down zone, so the density went down. So we weren't able to do what our original plan was as far as number of units, because the city did down on the property.
Bert, do you have an update for Lamont?
I do. And where we are is we have submitted a memorandum of understanding draft to them. And we are waiting for them to respond to that.
What were you talking about?
Well, yeah, what was that? I think I was-
Okay, so,
We had a couple more items on the agenda. I just don't think we did that.
okay, Koenig Lane and Lamar is the name of the property. Versi Chin Development is proposing that. And where we're at right now on the PFC structure, we have submitted a memorandum of understanding to them and waiting for them to respond. They're of course going through the process of getting building permits and the necessary pre-development work.
I see.
I just want.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, because quite frankly, I don't have the HATC. So Tech Ridge is approximately 40% complete at this point. As you drive by, you see Tech Ridge, if you're on 35, it's hard to miss it. It's going quite well. I think we probably have already received over $2 million in developers fee on that particular transaction. So, it's being done with Embry, and of course, they don't waste any time. So it's looking good and going well. South First, it has been a challenge. We can't seem to get to the MOU process. We were able to get the application money in. They are continuing to do the pre-development work, but we have not gotten to a point of finalizing the memorandum of understanding.
Okay, I think that does it for real estate. On to finance.
Yes, good morning. So something that I forgot to mention the last time was that we went out for an RFP for audit services because Jessica Chen with Brown and Graham is no longer going to be with the firm as of January 2022. And that was one reason. Another reason is because you know, in last year's audit, we determined that strategic no longer is part of the audit. So we thought that it would probably be better to go for another RFP. We might get a better pricing because it would probably be a smaller audit. So those are the two reasons for us to go out for an RFP. And we got about 5 proposals. And we'll go through them next year. I mean, we'll be doing with them next week. Yeah, and we did tell Brown and Graham to put in a submit a proposal, but I think they chose not to because we didn't get a proposal.
I have a question about that. If I'm understanding it correctly, we aren't auditing because most of them are owned with developers and they get audits anyway. But there's one complex, obviously, Rosemont, that we own separate apart. Are we getting the books on that audit?
What on last year's audit was determined strategic is not a discrete component unit of the housing authority. It's just a related party organization. So with that reasoning, strategic financial data doesn't need to be rolled into the ACA's, rolled into HATC's financials. You know,
We'll forgive that little profile there.
25 years. We'll get it right.
I don't understand.
Yeah, 25 years is hard to kind of.
Yeah, I understood the logic, but I guess my question is, are we getting Rosemont audited at all?
Yes, yes. So what we did for 2020 is we right now Jessica Chen is doing a compilation of strategic that will include both Rosemont and strategic, and we got a draft compilation from her. It's not a full blown audit, but again, it's and it doesn't require an audit because we don't get federal funds. Strategic doesn't get federal funds, so
I know it's not required.
yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if you all recall, we were having this discussion about the debate about having an audit or not for strategic, and the decision was made to do a compilation which includes all of what an audit would include except for the auditor's opinion, right, for the most part. So that's what you all sort of elected to do, but you certainly can revisit that as there's a change of part of that.
Well, my only concern, I don't know if we should change it or not, but my only concern is that Rosemont's the one complex, even though it's being managed by a third-party management company. There's nobody else overseeing it, but there's no developer back there going, you know, let's review these statements and make sure they're correct. That's my real concern.
Right, and the compilation, and Will can share the compilation with you. Have you shared the compilation recently? The compilation? Or she's in the form, it's almost done.
Yeah, it's a draft.
Yeah, so we can share that with you. You can look at that and see if the contents of that, you know, are sufficient. If not, then obviously we can elect to pursue the idea of getting an audit. Which shouldn't be that costly. It's just a matter of making that happen. But the compilation comes very close to what an audit would contain as far as the information. Again, it doesn't provide the auditors, I guess, their statement or recommendation or fine, you know, that sort of thing, but
Because
has.
they don't physically check the income and expenses. People say, do your numbers agree with ours?
Super, I can't.
That's what I'm about.
It's not a full blown audit. It's just
Not a compilation.
My question would be, do we have to have that audit for our investment partner?
We don't have a partner, do we?
Well, we have a lender.
We have a lender.
Do we have to have knowledge of that?
They at this point are not requiring it.
That would be my only concern.
Would you mind, just for my sake, would you price a audit and or a compilation or both, and just ask what it would cost for that one company? Yeah, I'm looking. I'm looking past.
Yeah,
Okay,
Super was looking back again.
Okay.
There was a.
I personally think we should have an audit.
Other than that, I'll just brief by exception, what is included in the board packet is the financials for the 15-month period. Of the 18-month fiscal year. I didn't really have anything to highlight. Don't have any questions.
Okay, I have one more regarding collections, but I don't know if it's the right time to bring it up, Patrick. The question I asked you a month or two ago about the money that the federal government owes us. And you said the staff was working on collecting it, but didn't expound on who's trying to collect it, what efforts we're trying to make.
Sure, yeah, I can give you a synopsis. So there, and we even talked about software and other things, I think it brought us in. So HUD is providing us TA or technical assistance to help us with this process because we were in arrears as it relates to the submission of the vouchers because of our failure to submit in the case of Eastern, what they call a pass-through lease. HUD wanted us to do a master lease so that the residents would be in two lease agreements. And that is not exactly what we did. So we actually had to go back and try to rectify that. And so what I was suggesting with our software is it's not very conducive for the idea of going back and doing those sort of retro submissions. So we did get technical assistance. We're in the process now of getting those submitted. We're about halfway through the submission, and it'll just be a matter of days before we can go and fully submit all of those. So within the next 30 days, I'm saying that just because actually it's depending on other people in HUD, which doesn't always respond to things quickly. But once those will get approved, we should be able to recoup those funds.
Are all of them recoupable, or is there a time limit?
Yeah, in theory, all of them are recoupable, if that's the term. But we're hopeful, I should say. But we'll keep you updated.
Is there a legal time limit? I forget, would you keep me informed on that?
I will.
I have a quick question. On my calendar, I have a budget work session. Penciled in for the 17th, is that still?
And we were going to confirm that today, but that is that week we were hoping that the 17th. I think that was penciled in because I think you maybe or a couple of you maybe had conflicts that week, and we tentatively planned for that, but we were hoping to confirm that before today in the meeting.
I do have one question. Super. I told you I wasn't going to harass you, but it's really on your business activities on capital expenditures. We actually budgeted 45,000, but we've only spent 5. What did we budget in there that we didn't do what we thought we would?
We budgeted for a maintenance truck. So when we did the budget extension, we put in for a maintenance truck, and it was decided not to, not buy it.
Okay, I was just wondering because we had that in there. I was just wondering what we didn't do that we thought we were going to do. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, good job, Super.
So the last is the foundation, and Eric's not here again because they're doing assessments with UT School of Nursing. And it's being conducted today at Maynardtown the senior apartments. They're also doing vaccinations as well. So you might want to run out there if you still need a booster shot of actually the vaccine. But they're conducting those assessments today, so we're very happy about the opportunity to do that. I think we're working on planning to do those vaccinations at Rosemont as well with Travis County HHS. So we've been feverishly working on getting that work done with the assessments, in addition to trying to continue to work on securing grant funding and setting ourselves up in those different networks that allow us to receive funds. Been very busy with the Boy Scouts and Explorers Club, trying to establish that. And we did just pencil, or I should say, ink in an agreement with the public libraries to provide computers. I guess it's kind of a loan, like a long-term loan situation with the public libraries to provide individuals PC or laptops maybe to perform different functions. So we hope to continue to evolve that process because I actually want to help residents in their ability to have access to technology. They're a wealth of, have a lot of resources. So we're excited about trying to continue to evolve that partnership with the library. And then our job coach is still working towards trying to connect with the different entities out there as it relates to job opportunities and job training. So they've been on site primarily, just trying to connect and engage with the residents. We're about to conclude our TEF funds. We got 50,000 to do a partial study, and then 25 to provide transportation assistance to folks that are either seeking to explain to improve their employability or to maintain their current job status as per the study that we conducted. So we're spending the rest of that money. So residents are getting stipends for transportation, again, related to work or workforce, I should say. So that grant concludes at the end of the year. And so that's been going pretty well.
Have we expended most of the grant money?
We've expended most of the grant money, yeah, and we expect that it'll all be gone by then.
Actually, do we have Wi-Fi at our clubhouses?
Yes, we do.
Okay, on to board committee reports. Item 7, real estate development. Committee.
Really, all we did was tour Rosemont. Other than that, we haven't really done much else. I think we all got a little bit different tours. We showed up a little late. That was actually lost. John had already gone. And just going to see some units that hadn't really been touched yet. Probably saw a whole lot different units that he touched. But the units were, some of them were really bad, as we all know. But the ones that are being fixed up are really nice. I don't know what else to report except it's time and money. We're not doing real well either one.
Government? Everything? HR?
So we met and worked with staff, Patrick, to review the employment contract and simplified performance evaluation template that we approved. And so the only thing I have left to report is that we would like to have the performance evaluation process completed in time for the next board meeting. And we also, as a separate issue, compensation, any compensation changes. So the suggested timeline for that is that board members will have the simplified template completed and return to the HR committee by the 18th of November. And then we will turn that into an evaluation of sort of summary, as we've done in the past. And that will be, ready for the, December 2nd.
And can we get current compensation?
Yes.
For that, so we can use it for, just kind of knowledge purposes.
Absolutely.
Um,
So on the next board meeting, we'll probably have two, at least one action item. I'll control this stuff. But one of them will be, they're separate processes as we decided. So the evaluation is a separate thing, and then any compensation changes is a separate thing.
and we've already got Patrick comments in our board packages.
Patrick, comments on that?
What's your comments in blue?
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah, we were showing last year's
Yeah.
change from last year. But if you're talking about a summary,
But I'll talk to Patrick, we'll talk about.
sure, we can do that.
That concludes our-
Okay. We'll move on to new unfinished business. Working list?
Well, we do have the issue of confirming the budget workshop at the 17th still good to date. We just need to confirm a time, and then go forward for sure.
Ma'am, what's the status of our, last month we was talking about 3 possible employees not vaccinated. What's the status of those employees? Not vaccinated?
To my knowledge, right, so well, let me just maybe take a step back. There was some interest in reviewing what the federal mandate about vaccinations, how was it applicable to us? It's still a little inconclusive, the housing authorities, some of the large ones, San Antonio in particular, that suggested that they don't believe that it's necessarily a requirement at this point, at least from their interpretation. However, what they've been trying to do is they've been having employees that have not been cannot prove that they've been vaccinated to have weekly tests done, as a kind of an incentive or encouragement or whatever you want to call it. And so to date, we've just continually encouraged folks to get vaccinated. I can't confirm the number of vaccinations. I believe there may be 3 individuals that are not vaccinated. And of course, we continue to just encourage folks to get vaccinated.
Cliff, what's the, is there any backlash for requiring testing for those individuals that are not?
To be honest, I don't know, that's not my area. I do know OSHA issues mandate today.
Well, the reason why is this is a small organization and we're in one combined closed area, and that causes an issue. And if somebody gets it, it could spread throughout the whole office. That could affect productivity with all the things that we've got going on.
Sure, I can find out from our HR lawyer and get back to Patrick.
If I might add something here, from an HR standpoint, there was an executive order relating to federal contractors. There's still some debate as to whether or not that applies to housing authorities and even the big ones like San Antonio, who actually has an attorney on staff who can't figure this out. And so the mandate as it would affect us is still very unclear, as Patrick had said. It kind of boils down to whatever sort of policy we want to develop and implement. So we have some freedom here to do that. And then it gets even more complicated because of the state now with the governor saying you can't mandate
Right.
vaccination. So, federal law should supersede that, but we're not even clear if that even applies to us. So it's kind of a mess right now. Bottom line is that we could probably implement any policy we want, as long as, I would advise it to be within reason, so that it's not challenged, but yeah.
So,
All that to say, we don't really, it's still up in the air, but we can do what we want.
Madam Chair, did we get the HR committee to work with Steve on that and to
We
come up
did
with?
discuss it, I just forgot, because the answer is we don't have a good answer.
Why don't we start by asking the three people in question if they would consent to getting tested? I don't know how they have to test. I'm not for mandating vaccine period, but I don't think it's anything wrong with getting tested.
Well,
Yeah, let us look at the different, there was something that came out today, I'm not sure what it was, but that did say vaccinated or weekly testing.
Well,
I
now,
heard it on NPR.
yeah, that was the OSHA mandate, which has been in the works, and it applies to organizations with over 100 employees or federal contractors. So
So it doesn't help.
it doesn't really help. It just sort of formalizes what was already discussed.
My point is, there's no harm in asking and providing the vaccine.
well, I don't think it's our responsibility to provide it because, they're the ones that's inspecting it. They should pay for it. We pay for their insurance. So,
And that's how some of the
yeah,
housing authorities are looking at it.
yes,
Right.
because they're jeopardizing our employees, and I'm thinking about the betterment of all the employees, not just 2 or 3. And so, anyway, if you mind, could we
Yeah,
get a report on
we
it?
will.
And
Okay, thank you.
should do that. Okay, anything else?
So again, as it relates to the budget work session, is the 17th, does that still work for folks?
17 works for me. Anybody else?
Okay, for me. What time though?
Talking about this one, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
10 o'clock, or do you want to be there? Remember, we got to do it for in person, so.
Yeah, it's hard to do it chemical before 10 because of the
10, okay?
traffic.
and when was saying before time?
No, I'm saying, no, it's fine, the traffic is fine, what I'm concerned about, of getting there sometimes. could be-
I got my glasses. I had to come in early and I.
Okay, well, you came in early, for those that are running a little late.
Aren't you, Eddie?
Yeah.
Be a
I'm
problem?
gonna be late no matter what time.
Well, I know that, but
No,
is the 17th okay for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Anytime. 9 o'clock.
okay, why don't we do 9:30?
9:30.
We'll split it,
Going.
um,
Okay.
Patrick, can you check with John and make sure that's?
Yes,
Who's
yes.
picking
And
up
he's
the
supposed to be here.
You are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mark, can you send out an invite for that and on Zoom?
Gotcha,
Don't
will do.
promise anything for
Yep,
anybody.
yep.
Or at least on Zoom. for anybody. So executive session, I don't think there's anything for executive session for the
No,
housing authority.
It's at 9:30.
No, ma'am.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay, we are adjourned.
All right.